Hello, everyone. My name is Emin, and I am here to present Swamped, a digital companion for freelancers and remote workers. My team members and myself had suffered from crippling procrastination for most of our lives. This has hurt both our careers and our emotional well-being. So we asked ourselves how many other people suffer from this problem and who suffers the most. While we were talking about this, Google and Facebook were, of course, listening to our conversation, as they always do, and they started showing us posts like these, which means that millions and millions of people are suffering from the same problem. Now, while virtually everyone in this room has procrastinated here and there a little bit, there is a group of people for whom procrastination is a much more serious problem. See, when freelancers procrastinate, their livelihood is in jeopardy and they lose money by the hour. This is, of course, a very stressful situation and it causes a loop. And since you are your own boss, you have no one to keep you accountable but yourself. I know all of this because I too am a freelancer, and I wondered how many of my colleagues suffer from the same problem like I did. So we did more research on procrastination in freelancers, and we found out that about half of them on average consider this a consistent and troubling habit, and a fifth of them are severely impacted emotionally by this, by this habit. So this tells us that the problem is not just one of productivity, but also one of emotion. People are suffering daily because they can't seem to kick this habit. Ladies and gentlemen, we obviously have a big problem on our hands, a problem that is only growing because of the billion-dollar industries that are pushing short-term distractions like social media into our faces. So our next task was to look up the current solutions on the market, and we talked to some freelancers and we found out how they solve this problem right now. Some people use to-do lists, while others just talk to their colleagues on Discord to have some kind of a real-life accountability partner. There are some players in the market who utilize gamification, and the closest thing to a solution right now for freelancers is an app called Forest, which is a generalized gamification app where you grow trees when you're doing focused work. And they're very popular. There are over 100, they're the top paid ad in over 100 countries, which means that there is market validation. They prove that people are looking for a solution to this problem. Now, what we want to do is we want to narrow down the target market to people who suffer the most from this issue because they're the most willing to pay. So this led us to design Swamped, an app for freelancers that gamifies work. Swamped is a kind of a Tamagotchi type app that utilizes science-backed methods for behavior change in order to help freelancers put in more hours into their work. Compared to the average habit tracker, this app is going to provide a fun and enjoyable experience where you take care of this little guy called Swath, who is your digital accountability partner while you're working on your gigs. This app will be fun and enjoyable to use, but it'll also fix the bad work habits of its users, which means they'll be earning more and they'll have more disposable income. This app will also contain an integral social feature because that's what the users asked for, and it's also going to be a kind of a word-of-mouth marketing campaign for us in the beginning. So how many people can we serve? Although there are a lot of freelancers out there, our initial target market is the West Balkans, with the goal to expand to the rest of Europe over a 4-year window. In the West Balkans, about 65,000 freelancers fit our exact customer profile, and luckily this number is on the rise. Trends show an increase in full-time remote workers and digital nomads who are our prospective future users. How do we make money? In-app purchases are the growing trend in mobile app revenue and is the same model that we will use. Other features, apart from customization, like streak freezes, will cost virtual app coins, which can be bought with real money or earned by using the app. This is a well-known model. And additionally, we plan on experimenting with ad-supported revenue models for fully freemium users without in-app purchase potential. In the first 2 years, we'll focus on the West Balkans, but we soon plan expansion into the EU, where the purchasing power is much higher. And if we can attract 200,000 users in 4 years of doing business, we can hope for an annual revenue of about €1 million. To develop the app, we need 45,000 euros for all sorts of things. And these resources can also be provided in the form of man hours because most of the money will go for Android developers, Android engineers, and motion designers. We'll also need some money for consulting behavioral psychologists and other ancillary costs. We offer 15% of the company equity in return, but this, of course, is open to negotiation. We're very proud to have Mirza Beshirovic on our team, who has already helped grow 2 German tech startup unicorns, and my co-founder Denina is a computer scientist. I come from a marketing background, so between the 3 of us, we cover sales and marketing, product development, and go-to-market strategy. And honestly, we hope that we win, but even if we don't win in this competition, we're going to make this app or we're going to die trying. Thank you very much. You can see the Figma prototype on this link, this QR code down here. Thank you.
Thank you, Emin. Thank you very much for a very exhaustive presentation on what we can expect from Swamped. If there is any questions from the investors and judges, I invite you to raise your hand and I'll give you the word. Okay, if there is no questions, I guess. Okay,
I'll ask a question.
Please.
Look, presentation is really well done. My issue with sorry to be negative immediately, but I guess what I'd appreciate you maybe clarifying a little bit more, how does the app itself actually work? Because the core issue you're dealing with here, or the problem you're trying to solve, is procrastination. Yet the people who are suffering procrastination are being asked to actually do something which is the opposite of procrastination on a regular disciplined basis, at least is my interpretation. So can you just shed a little bit more light around exactly how does the app work? What is the user required to do in order to gain some benefits from this app in dealing with their procrastination?
Thank you. That's a good question. I'm trying to get back to one of the slides. Yeah, we can stay here for a moment. So the app is going to, I've done some reading on the behavioral science of habit formation. Now, procrastination is a habit, something that we formed over the years. It's a habit like any other habit. It's like a habit like being late, like or something else, and it can be changed using the latest methodologies. One example of methodology is gradual increases in work hours. So that's the approach the app is going to take. If you're not able to work more than 2 hours a day, the app is going to ask you to do 2 hours for a certain period of time, and then it will gradually push you up to 2.5 hours, gradually push those numbers up. It's how I fought my own procrastination habits, and now I'm able to work for hours at a time. So that's one example of a method. There is also a method called implementation intentions, where you will think of a habit that you already do and bind your new habit to what you're already doing, and so on and so forth. So most of these are new, relatively new scientific methods for behavior change that we plan to implement and digitalize in the app.
But the fundamental premise, just to be sure I understand this, is that the user is required to input this information in order for the app to decide whether they should remind them or push them to do more work in a more frequent manner. I mean, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a test that determines just how much we can push the user. And so the app is kind of tailored towards each individual user when it comes to the number of work hours that they do. Okay. So they won't even notice that they're working more actually across time.
Okay. And is the app fully up and running, or are you still developing it?
No, right now we have a Figma prototype, and most of the investment that we're looking for is to develop the app. We do have an app developer in the team, but since this is a game, an app that utilizes gamification, Denina is definitely going to need some help from more Android developers. That's what we need resources for to accomplish.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your question.
If there are no more questions, I will thank Emin and his Purple Sloth on the lovely presentation. Oh, there is Edin. Please, Edin.
Yes, just a quick question. You mentioned it's a tool is basically for the freelancers. Do you know what is the average time that freelancers actually can do?
What's the average time that freelancers work?
Yeah, I mean, they're freelancers, right? I mean, they obviously earn their money. So it's like, what is their average time? Do you have any kind of data statistically on that? Because, when I'm freelancing, I'm doing the job, I'm doing like 6 hours or 7 hours or 12 hours, whatever the date, time is. So if you just mention toward or actually push toward the freelancers, how I know you can actually select it, do you have a little test, and then the app is going to adjust it. But I was just wondering, do you know what the numbers are really struggling? So if you can do 6 hours, I really don't want to do any more hours than 6. If you're doing only 2, that's maybe good. So that is the question.
That's actually a good point. Now, there are, no offense to you, I don't include you into this group, but there are older freelancers who are established already into this type of work, and they found their own ways to solve this, and they're not going to be part of our target market. So people who are already established and work for 6 or 7 hours or 8 hours a day, they don't belong in this group of 65,000. There are actually 250,000 freelancers in the West Balkans, and we took a fifth of that number after doing some calculations to figure out that a fifth of them have this problem of doing a couple of hours a day, like 2 hours, 3 hours a day. Only a fifth of them suffers from this problem, not all of them do. So we're going to target those people who have an actual problem, and for those who have solved it, good for them.
So it's basically younger generations, I guess, going for those, shorter, attention span for everything else. Well, that's nice. Okay, sounds good.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Team Swamped, for the presentations, and thank you for answering the questions.